The sun was hot that afternoon. The military base gates stood tall and silent. Soldiers walked in and out, busy with their work. Strong men in uniform, carrying weapons, with serious faces. Then, something unusual happened. An old man walked slowly toward the gate. His back was slightly bent. His clothes were old and dusty. He wore simple sandals, and one of them looked broken. In his hand, he carried a small brown bag. His steps were slow, but his eyes were calm. Two young guards saw him coming. One of them laughed. "Hey, Grandpa, this isn't a bus stop. Are you lost?" The other said, "Maybe he thinks this is a museum. Poor guy." The old man stopped in front of the gate. He didn't smile. He didn't look confused. "I've come to see someone," he said quietly. "He promised he'd meet me here." The guards looked at each other and smiled again. "Oh, and who's that, old man?" But the old man didn't answer. He just stood there, holding his small bag. One of the guards got a little annoyed. "Look, sir, this is a restricted army area. You can't just walk in. Do you even know where you are?" The old man sat on a bench near the gate and spoke slowly. "He will come. I can wait." The guards didn't think much of it. They let him sit there. Maybe he was confused. Maybe he was just some harmless old man looking for attention. Hours passed. The sun moved. The sky started to turn orange, but the old man didn't move. He didn't eat. He didn't drink water. He just sat quietly, looking straight ahead. Some soldiers passed by and looked at him. A few laughed. One or two felt a little bad, but no one helped. After all, he looked like just another poor man with old memories. Inside the base, a young soldier named Ravi was cleaning the main office. He was new. He wasn't supposed to be touching the files, but curiosity got the better of him. He had seen the old man earlier, and something about him felt strange. Not scary, just different. Ravi whispered to himself, "Why does he sit so calmly? Like he knows something. Like he's not afraid." Then he noticed something. The guard had taken a photo of the old man's ID earlier. As a joke, he had posted it in the guard chat group. Ravi opened the picture. His eyes scanned the name. Then suddenly, he froze. The name on the ID. The photo. The number below it. His heart started to beat faster. "No, this can't be real," he whispered. He ran to his senior officer, holding his phone tightly. Sir," he said in a low but urgent voice. "What is it, Ravi? Speak clearly." "You need to see this," he said, showing the photo. The officer looked at the screen, then back at Ravi. "Is this a joke?" "No, sir. I checked it with the old military record system. This man is not just anyone." The officer narrowed his eyes. "Who is he?" Ravi's voice dropped to a whisper. "Sir, this man is Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore, hero of the 1971 border war, listed as MIA, missing in action, for 40 years. They thought he died in battle." The officer stood up quickly. "What did you say?" "I'm serious, sir. His ID matches old military files. Fingerprint, photo, name, everything. This is him. The colonel is alive, and he's sitting outside our gate." The room fell silent. The officer looked out the window. The old man was still there, sitting quietly, just like before. The officer's hands began to shake. No one believed he survived. He saved an entire battalion, but he disappeared. They searched for weeks, but nothing. Ravi nodded. "Sir, what should we do?" The officer didn't answer. Outside, the sun had almost set. The air was cooler now. The old man slowly opened his bag and pulled out a folded photo. It was worn out and yellow. A young boy stood beside him in the photo, saluting with a toy gun. Back inside, the officer spoke into the radio. "Call the base commander, now." The voice on the other end replied, "What's wrong, sir?" The officer looked out again. "We may have a ghost sitting at our gate, but this ghost wears medals." And so, the quiet old man waited. Not for food, not for attention. He waited because someone had promised to meet him. And far away, that person was already on his way. In full military silence, the military base was no longer calm. After Ravi showed the truth about the old man, whispers spread fast. Soldiers who laughed at him earlier were now quiet. Some felt embarrassed. Others were still confused. Could this really be Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore, the man from the old war stories? The officer who saw the ID sent a direct message to the base commander. "We may have a living war legend at our gate, sir." The reply came quickly. "Keep him safe. Do not let him leave. I'm coming." Outside, the old man sat without emotion. His eyes didn't move much, but his ears caught everything. He had been in enough battles to know when people were nervous. He looked at his hands. They were old now, full of wrinkles. But these hands had once held weapons, saved lives, and wiped blood from young soldiers' faces. He slowly reached into his bag again. From it, he pulled out a small cloth-wrapped bundle. He unwrapped it carefully, as if it were a treasure. Inside, there was an old dusty medal. It was not a common medal. It was the Shaurya Chakra, a rare honor given only to the bravest. A cleaning worker near the gates saw the medal shining in the light. He stopped working and came closer. "Sir, is that real?" he asked, surprised. The old man looked at him and smiled gently. "They gave it to me once. Then they forgot I ever existed." The worker sat near him, shocked. "But sir, how can they forget someone who saved the country?" The old man didn't reply. He just looked up at the flag flying above the base wall. His eyes were wet, but he didn't wipe the tears. Soldiers are not ashamed of crying for their country. Inside the control room, young soldier Ravi opened the old military database. He typed the name Arjun Singh Rathore again. The file was marked MIA, missing in action, 1984. But under that, the record told a story. Colonel Arjun led a secret mission during a border conflict. He ordered his men to escape while he stayed behind to stop enemy soldiers. Radio contact was lost. Official search teams never found his body. He was declared lost. Ravi kept reading. Then he found something strange. One line at the end said, "Survived by one grandson, Radvir Rathore, age 4. Ravi whispered, "Radvir?" At that moment, one of the guards ran in. "Sir, an army jeep is approaching. No sirens, no sound, but high rank." They all ran to the cameras. A black military jeep entered the base gate slowly. No music, no noise, no talking. But every guard stood straight. No one dared to speak. The door opened. A tall soldier stepped out, wearing full decorated uniform. His chest was full of medals. His boots were polished. His face was hard, but his eyes were red. He walked straight, like a man on a mission. Someone whispered, "Who is he?" Another replied, "We don't know. But look at his name badge." Everyone turned to the screen. The badge said, "Major Ravir Rathore." Ravi gasped. The grandson. Outside, the old man was still sitting quietly. He felt the vibration of footsteps behind him. He didn't turn. He didn't move. Until he heard a sharp sound. Thump. Someone had saluted him. He turned his head slowly. And there he was, his grandson, fully grown, in a soldier's uniform. The old man's lips trembled, but he didn't cry. He stood up slowly, with the help of the bench. The young officer dropped to his knees and touched the old man's feet. "Dadaji," he whispered, "you came. After all these years, you finally came." The old man touched his grandson's shoulder. "You promised you'd meet me in uniform," he said. "You kept your word." Inside the base, silence filled the air. No one moved. No one blinked. A few of the older officers came outside, one by one. They all looked at the old man in disbelief. One officer said, "Sir, we had no idea. If we had known." The old man raised a hand. "It doesn't matter now." But his grandson stepped forward. "It does matter," he said firmly. "You let him sit outside like a stranger. You treated a national hero like a beggar." The officers bowed their heads. No one had an excuse. Later that evening, the base commander arrived. He had gray hair and a tired face, but when he saw the old man, he stopped walking. He slowly removed his cap and said, "Colonel Rathore, it is my honor." The old man smiled. I remember you. You were a cadet when I last visited. The commander nodded. Yes, sir. I remember watching you give a speech. I never forgot that day. The old man looked at his grandson and then back at the commander. I came here for one reason. Not for a medal, not for an award. He held his grandson's hand tightly. I came to see the future of this country in uniform. The commander saluted him. And everyone followed. Even the guards who laughed earlier now stood stiff, tears running down their cheeks. Because sometimes, real heroes don't wear capes. They wear silence. They carry medals in torn bags. And they come when the world has forgotten them, only to remind it what honor truly means. The air at the military base had changed. What started as a quiet afternoon had now turned into something powerful. Every soldier could feel it in their chest, like standing in front of something bigger than war, bigger than duty. The old man, Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore, stood tall, though his body was weak. His back still bent slightly with age, but his eyes were full of strength. He looked at his grandson standing beside him. Major Ravir Rathore, his only grandson, his blood, his pride. The young officer didn't speak much. His mouth remained closed, but his body said everything. He stood next to the old man like a shield, like a promise. And the base, silent. Everyone watched. Even the bullets on the base wires seemed to pause. One soldier whispered, "Did you hear how he arrived?" Another replied, "No sirens, no music, no ceremony, just silence." That silence said more than words ever could. The base commander had ordered the main office cleared. He asked for a private meeting with Colonel Arjun and his grandson. A large room was prepared. Water and tea were kept on the table. Clean chairs were arranged, but Colonel Arjun didn't sit. He walked around the room slowly, looking at the wall where photographs of war heroes were hanging. His own photo wasn't there. The commander noticed and felt ashamed. He cleared his throat. "Sir, I want to apologize." Colonel Arjun turned, his face calm. "For what?" The commander took a breath. "For the years we forgot you. For the years we didn't search harder. And for letting you sit outside our gate like a stranger." The old man walked closer and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You were a young cadet once. You believed in this uniform. I can see in your eyes, you still do." The commander nodded. "Yes, sir. Because of you." Outside the office, soldiers were still gathered. No one had returned to their duties. A few were watching through the windows. Others stood silently, waiting for orders. But no one wanted to leave. A group of senior officers began whispering among themselves. "This is going to cause problems," said one. "The media will ask questions. Why was a war hero forgotten?" Another replied, "We need to act before this becomes public shame." One younger officer spoke. "Why are you all worried about headlines? You should be worried about your hearts. We forgot a man who risked his life for this country." Silence again. They knew he was right. Back inside the room, Colonel Arjun finally sat down. He looked at the cup of tea but didn't touch it. His grandson sat beside him, still in full uniform. The commander asked softly, "Sir, where have you been all these years?" Colonel Arjun didn't answer at first. Then he spoke slowly. "After the battle, I was injured, captured by the enemy. They thought I was dead, but I was taken to a camp. I escaped after a year. The room went still. I returned quietly. But by then, my name was lost. My records were buried. No one recognized me. So I stayed away." The commander was speechless. "Why didn't you contact anyone?" "I tried," he said. "I wrote letters. I sent documents. But no reply ever came. Maybe they were lost or ignored." He paused. "And then, I stopped trying." The words fell heavy in the room. His grandson looked at him, his voice shaking. "But why didn't you come to me, Dadaji? I would have brought you back. I searched for you. For years, I asked my father about you." The old man's eyes became moist. He smiled sadly. "I didn't want to disturb your path. I wanted to see you grow strong, without shadows. I wanted to watch you from a distance, until the day you wore this uniform with pride." Major Ravia stood up. "I didn't grow strong because of the army. I grew strong because of your stories. My father told me what kind of man you were, that you were brave, that you never ran from battle, that you never left your men behind. He paused and took a deep breath. You didn't come back for a medal, you came back for me. The old man nodded. I waited until you were ready, and today I saw what I needed to see. A man, a soldier, my legacy. At that moment, the door opened. The commander's assistant stepped in. Sir, request from the soldiers. They want to meet Colonel Arjun. They want to salute him properly. The commander looked at Arjun. Sir. The old man thought for a moment, then stood. I will go. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the military base. The mood was still serious. The soldiers moved with more respect now, as if every step had weight. Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore sat quietly in his tent. He had not spoken much since last night's candle march. His eyes were open, but his mind was far away in memories, in battles, in loss. Major Ravir Rathore brought him tea and sat by his side. Gadaji, he said softly, I want to take you home soon, back to our family's village. You deserve rest. Arjun smiled faintly. Not yet, Beta. Something is still missing. I feel it. Radvir nodded. He felt it too, like a question left unanswered, like a door left half open. At the same time, in another corner of the base, the commander was in the records room, a small, dusty area where old files and forgotten documents were stored. He had sent 2 soldiers to search for Arjun Singh's missing case file, to find out why his name disappeared from the system. One soldier pulled out an old folder, its label faded. It read, Rathore, as missing in action. Inside the folder were documents marked with red ink, presumed dead, no body found. Case closed in 1986. But just beneath those pages, there was a sealed envelope, yellow, torn at the corners, and marked, to be sent to Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore's family. Urgent. The soldier blinked. Sir, I think we found something. The commander took the letter in his hands, his face serious. The seal was never broken. An hour later, in the commander's office, Arjun and Radvir were called in. The letter was placed on the table. Arjun stared at it for a moment, his hands frozen. He touched the envelope gently. His name was written in bold, keen letters, clear proof that someone did try to contact him many years ago. With shaking fingers, he opened it. The letter was written by Captain Anil Mehra, a close friend and fellow officer from Arjun's unit. Radvir read it aloud. The forgotten letter. Dear Mrs. Rathore, I don't believe Arjun is dead. We were ambushed, yes, but I saw him alive after the attack. He was wounded but breathing. I tried to carry him back, but I was forced to leave him behind when we came under fire again. I believe he was captured, and if he was, there is still hope. Please don't stop searching. Please don't believe the reports. Arjun would never die so easily. He's a fighter. He's our strongest. If this letter reaches you late, forgive me. I've been trying to send this through unofficial channels. Command refuses to reopen his case. With respect and hope. Captain Anil Mehra. The room fell silent. Radvir slowly sat down, his heart pounding. Arjun was staring at the letter. Anil. He never gave up on me. The commander looked shocked. Sir, this letter was never delivered. It was stuck in the wrong file, probably forgotten during a file shift in 1986. Radvir slammed the table. One letter. One letter could have saved everything. My father. He could have seen you again. My grandmother wouldn't have died in pain. Arjun stayed quiet. Then he whispered, No, don't be angry. This letter came late, yes, but it shows me something important. He looked up, eyes full of emotion. I was never forgotten. At least one man believed in me. Radvir held the letter in his hands. Dadaji, this changes everything. The commander nodded. We will officially reopen your case file. We will update the records, and we will include this letter as part of the truth. But then, something else happened. The commander made a call to an old contact, a retired officer who had served with both Arjun and Anil Mehra. An hour later, the man arrived. His name was General Rawat, now in his 70s. He walked with a cane but still wore a neat uniform. He entered the tent and saluted Arjun. "Sir, I knew you weren't dead. Anil told me everything. I tried to help, but we were silenced." Radvir frowned. "Silenced?" General Roat nodded. Back then, the army was under political pressure. There was fear of public panic if word got out that a senior officer was captured and abandoned. Radvir's jaw tightened. "So they covered it up." "Yes," Roat said. "Some in power didn't want the truth. They marked you dead, closed your case, ordered all communication to stop." "And the letter?" Arjun asked. "It must have slipped through, but never reached your family." Radvir clenched his fists. "So you all just forgot him?" Roat shook his head. "I never forgot. I kept a photo of your grandfather on my desk for 30 years. Every time I saw it, I remembered what loyalty means." He turned to Arjun. "I'm sorry, old friend. You were failed, not by soldiers, but by the system." By evening, the news of the letter had spread across the base. Soldiers began gathering outside again. This time, they carried not just candles, but letters. Letters they wrote for their families, their lost friends, their fellow soldiers who never came back. And in the center of it all, Colonel Arjun sat quietly with his grandson, holding the original letter in his hand. A soldier walked up and said, "Sir, your silence once spoke louder than our words, but now your truth will speak for all the silent heroes." Radvir looked at his grandfather and said, "Dadaji, they tried to erase your name, but now your story will live forever." And Arjun whispered, "Let this be my final message, not just to you, but to every soldier. Truth may sleep, but it never dies." The army base had never seen such movement. Flags were raised. Soldiers cleaned every inch of the parade ground. Senior officers arrived from across the country. A special stage was built, decorated with the army's colors. A huge banner read, "Honoring the silent hero, Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore." For 40 years, his story was hidden. Today, the army was going to correct that mistake. Major Radvir stood next to his grandfather as he got ready for the ceremony. He helped Arjun wear a brand new army coat. It wasn't stitched by any tailor. It was a gift from young cadets who said, "Sir, wear this with pride. It's yours." Arjun smiled, but his hands were shaking. "Are you nervous, Dadaji?" Radvir asked. "No," Arjun whispered. "Just feeling too much in my heart. I waited a lifetime for this." At exactly 10 a.m., the ceremony began. Hundreds of soldiers stood in formation. Army bands played slow, respectful music. A decorated jeep arrived carrying the army chief, a man who had served when Arjun was listed missing. He stepped onto the stage, saluted the audience, and then called, "Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore, please step forward." A silence spread across the parade ground. Every eye was on the old man walking slowly toward the stage, holding his grandson's arm for support. The sun reflected off the medal on his chest, the one he had earned decades ago, and carried alone in silence. But this time, he wasn't alone. He stood tall before the crowd, weak in body but unshaken in spirit. The army chief cleared his throat. "Today we correct a mistake. Today we honor not only a soldier, but the truth." He held out a small velvet box. Inside it was a medal that no one had seen before. It was specially made. The metal shone gold. On it were carved the words, "Valor in silence, Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore." The crowd clapped. Some soldiers had tears in their eyes. Others saluted with full force. The chief pinned the medal on Arjun's coat and said, "You may have been forgotten by paper, but never by history. Today, we return your honor." Arjun looked out at the crowd. He raised his hand in a slow salute. Everyone saluted back. For a moment, there was no sound, just pride, emotion, and respect hanging heavy in the air. But just as the ceremony was about to end, a young officer from the intelligence unit ran up to the commander and whispered something urgent. The commander's eyes widened. He stepped up to the microphone. "Everyone, please stay seated. We have just received some unexpected information." The mood shifted. Everyone looked around. The officer handed the commander a small tablet. On its screen was a recording, just discovered from old army surveillance data that had been declassified minutes ago. The commander turned the screen to the crowd and played it. A grainy video appeared. The date, 1985. Location, enemy camp. And in the center of the video, beaten and tied, but alive, was Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore. The audience gasped. The commander paused the video. This footage was found during a file recovery operation this morning. It proves beyond doubt. Colonel Arjun Singh was not killed in action. He was held for over a year, as he told us. People were shocked. But that wasn't all. The officer stepped forward again. There's something else, sir. The file shows there was an order to destroy all proof of his captivity. A cover-up, signed by high-ranking officials. A wave of anger passed through the soldiers. Radvia clenched his fists. They tried to erase him, on purpose. The commander took a deep breath. We will not hide this. A full investigation will be launched, and the names of those responsible will be made public. The crowd stood up. Salutes filled the air again. But this time, it wasn't just about honor. It was about truth, justice, and a fight that Arjun had never stopped fighting, even in silence. Later, inside the officer's mess, Arjun sat quietly, holding the new medal in his hand. He looked at Radvia and said, I never needed awards. I only wanted my name back. Radvia smiled. Now the world knows your name, Dadaji. They will teach it in history classes. A junior soldier walked in with a small wooden box. Sir, he said to Arjun, this was found with your name on it in an old storage unit. I think you should see it. Arjun opened it slowly. Inside was a photograph, torn but clear. It showed a group of smiling soldiers in uniform. One of them was Arjun. Another was Captain Anil Mehra. On the back was a line written in faded ink. Brothers in arms, some disappear, but none are forgotten. Arjun's hands shook as he held the photo close to his chest. His voice cracked. Anil kept his promise, even in silence. That night, as the stars lit up the sky, the base was quiet again. Radvia sat outside the tent, looking up. Arjun joined him and said, You know, when I was young, I used to think medals made a hero, but now I know. It's not the medal, it's the story behind it. Radvia nodded. And your story, Dadaji, has just begun. It had been 5 days since the medal ceremony. News channels all over the country were talking about one man, Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore, the soldier who was forgotten, erased from records, yet came back with truth and dignity. People from villages and cities sent letters to the army base. Some wrote poems, some sent flowers, some said they named their children after him. But inside the base, Arjun remained calm, quiet, still. He spent his mornings walking slowly with Radvia. Every step was heavy now. His body had aged fast after years of pain, but his spirit stayed unbroken. At night, he would sit under the stars, holding the old photograph of his unit. One evening, Radvia found him sitting silently, his eyes fixed on the sky. Dadaji, he asked softly, why don't you come inside? It's cold. Arjun didn't answer at first. Then he spoke in a low, tired voice. Do you hear that? Radvia listened. There was only the sound of wind and the rustling of leaves. No, he said, I don't hear anything. Arjun smiled faintly. Exactly. That's peace, after a lifetime of noise. The next morning, Radvia woke up and found a letter beside his bed. It was written in Arjun's handwriting. He read it slowly. Arjun's last letter. My dear Radvia, I never thought I would get to live long enough to see the truth win. But I did, and you were the reason. You brought me back from the shadows, not with power, but with love. I don't want to go home to the village. My home is here, among soldiers. My final salute will be here, on the land where I once gave my blood. Don't cry, Beta. I have lived a full life. I just want one last thing. Let me stand one final time, not as an old man, but as a soldier, in uniform, facing the flag, saluting one last time. Yours forever. Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore. Radvir ran out of his tent, heart pounding. He found Arjun sitting on a wooden bench near the training field. He was dressed in his full uniform, boots shining, cap perfectly placed. He had combed his white hair and wore his medals proudly. Radvir rushed to him. Dadaji, what is this? Arjun smiled. My last drill. Radvir's eyes filled with tears. Please don't talk like this. But Arjun gently held his hand. No, beta. A soldier must choose how he leaves the battlefield. And this is my parade. A message went out across the base. Final salute for Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore. All units assemble. Soldiers left their tasks. Vehicles stopped. Phones were put away. Everyone gathered in silence. Arjun was helped to the center of the parade ground. He stood weakly, but with pride. Radvir stood beside him. The bugle began to play. The sound echoed across the sky, soft, emotional, powerful. The soldiers all saluted, and slowly, with a trembling hand, Arjun raised his arm one final time. One last salute. A single tear rolled down his cheek. Then his arm dropped. His eyes closed, and he fell gently into Radvir's arms, peaceful, proud, and free. For a few seconds, no one moved. Then Radvir stood tall, holding his grandfather's body. He looked around and said in a strong voice, Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore is not gone. He is in every soldier who stands with truth. He is in every flag that flies in silence. He is forever one of us. The soldiers shouted together, Jai Hind, and the echo traveled far beyond the base, into the hearts of a nation. 2 months later, a statue was placed at the army base gate. It showed Arjun in full uniform, saluting the flag. On the base of the statue, a plaque read, **** Colonel Arjun Singh Rathore, the silent hero, erased by system, remembered by history. ***. Radvir visited the statue often, sometimes with new cadets, sometimes alone.